Everyone is doing well today. I could almost believe my microphone is not working. Good morning, everyone. Are we doing well today? Excellent. So I want to welcome you to this panel discussion. We're going to be discussing technology and innovation for clean cooking. Before we jump to introducing our panel, I'd like you to just turn your attention to the nearest screen to you, as we'd like you to watch a short video.
Naitwa Sikuzani Jafari Sudi, ni mjasiriamali wa kuuza mkaa feli. Nafahamu ni kweli mkaa una madhara kwa afya ya binadamu. Sababu wanangu wanasoma kupitia mkaa, mwenyewe napata maradhi kupitia mkaa, familia inaenda kupitia mkaa. Imeninufaisha kiasi kama 75% hivi kimaisha yangu. Wateja wangu wakiacha kutumia mkaa au kamia kwenye gesi, nitaathirika kimaisha. Mambo yangu toka yaendi, wanangu shule waendi, maradhi tukasipati, huduma za muhimu zile toka nini sizipati. Naendelea kuuza kwa kuwa mkaa ni kitu muhimu vile vile kwa binadamu, na uwezi kupika chakula bila mkaa. Kwa hiyo sina jinsi ya kujiepusha. Mawazo ya kufikiria biashara nyingine ninayo, ila kutokana na uwezo wangu ni mdogo, ndio maana nakoma hapa kwenye mkaa. Na natamani ya biashara nyingine tofauti na hii, ila sina kipato.
All right, thank you very much. So for those of you who have just joined, I want to welcome you once more to this panel discussion. We're going to be discussing technology and innovation for clean cooking. My name is Lee David Bananuka. I'm going to be moderating this panel. And here with me is genuinely a very impressive panel, experts who have a lot to say in this area. And I'd just like to welcome you to introduce yourselves. If we can begin from Mr. Andron and work our way this down.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Andron Mendes. I'm from MGAS. At MGAS, we are distributing LPG, but not in a traditional way. We normally rent LPG cylinders to our customers for a small entry of less than $2. And we provide these customers with a LPG cylinder, a stove, and a smart meter, which is fitted on top of the cylinder. And we give a customer a smart card. So this card they'll be using to load credit and be able to access LPG. So with the card, using M-Pesa or traditional other mobile money providers, they just top up and then they go to the device. The device will know exactly the amount of money this customer has, and the customer will be able to access LPG. So we are back end, we are receiving some reports from the device, and we are able to tell when the gas is low and arrange a refill. So the customer will continue in a way of like uploading credits every day. So what we've done differently is to enable customer to access LPG on their own terms, because now the existing cylinders, you need to you need to have a lot of money, especially to start using LPG, and then also there is a big challenge in terms of refilling. So this is our main job here, to revolutionize access to LPG in a different way. Thank you.
Thank you, Andron. Sophie?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sophia Dupoy. I'm head of public affairs at Coco Networks. Coco Networks we call ourselves a climate tech company, in the sense that we have developed a technology as the platform on which we are disrupting the use of charcoal and firewood. Our solution is a 2-burner cooker that uses bioethanol. We use technology across all the various points on the value chain, and we are able to deliver the solution in a way that is affordable to someone who's using charcoal or firewood, so we are easily able to replace it. So it's a clean, safe, convenient, and affordable solution. We have launched this solution in Kenya in 2019, and we are looking at Tanzania as one of the next countries in which we will launch. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sawe.
Good morning. where I'm coming from Sustainable Energy Services Organization. Others call it TATEDO. We are an organization that has been there for quite some times, working in the clean cooking sector. Our efforts has focused mostly on promoting and understanding the market systems, particularly for improved charcoal stoves, firewood stoves. And in the last 4 years, we have been working also on promoting high efficient electrical appliances, which we think, and we are strong believers that we should be promoting locally available energy resources with clean technologies, which include biomass and electricity. Thank you.
Thank you. Finally, Mr. Mohammed.
Yes, hello, my name is Mohammed. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Gas Faster. So Gas Faster is a digital platform for distribution of home cooking gas cylinders that provides convenience, affordability, and accessibility to cooking gas in rural and urban Tanzania. So basically what we do is we provide you with all platforms in which you can access cooking gas. The platforms that we use basically are platforms like an application, WhatsApp, platforms like calling. We have our Gas Faster Wakalas, and we've also come up with different methods of accessing gas at an affordable price through systems like buy now and pay later, and system of Kibubu, where you can put in amounts until you have enough amount to access gas. So how did we do that? Through looking at how the market in Tanzania is, we've looked at how we need to get into partnerships with different players in order to get accessibility to gas in urban areas and rural areas. And you can get the LPG cylinder, home cooking cylinder, at a press of a button. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just as a small point of housekeeping, it's a very small, very intimate setting. So I just ask that if you have your phones with you, if you just put them on silent mode, if you need to take any calls or anything, please go ahead and excuse yourself so that we don't have any distractions as we proceed. Is that all right? Is that clear? Excellent. So coming back to our panelists now on this discussion of technology and innovation for clean cooking, the first area we want to look at is existing technologies and the promise of new ones. What is currently out there? What is new that is coming in, and how those things can help us in this revolution and this movement towards clean cooking? And I guess a broad question I would first throw, maybe specifically at Mr. Sawe and also at SAFI, is what do we mean when we talk about new technology and coupling it with the word cooking? We've been cooking for as long as has been, and for as much as I've seen, it has always been a hot plate on which food goes and is made hot. So help us understand, when we talk about new technologies and innovations, what are we talking about then, and how do we make sense of that phrase?
Thank you. To understand what we mean by new technologies, first we need to understand the base existing technologies. The current existing technologies, which include the 3-stone fireplace and the metal charcoal stoves. These are stoves with low efficiency, high emissions, and also low safety features. And what do I mean? What I mean is if you, according to the existing standards, the 3-stone fireplace, because of its efficiency, the emissions, the particulate matters that are emitted is more than 600 micrograms per cubic meter. I mean, that's why we say it is dirty, because of the very high emission of particulate matters and harmful gases. And also the metal charcoal stoves ranges between 300 to 400 micrograms per cubic meter of particulate matters emissions. So that is the best technologies that is in use, and that's why we call them dirty technologies. Now, new technologies are focused in lowering the emissions through improving the efficiency. Because once you improve the efficiency, combustion efficiency, you lower the particulate matters emissions, you improve the efficiency, and according to the standards, the World Health Organization standards, we need to achieve technologies that have less than 25 micrograms per cubic meter of particulate matter emissions. That's what we need. So the technologies, the LPG, or I'll give the range. If you have the improved charcoal stoves and improved firewood stoves, you lower the emissions from 600, beyond 600 micrograms per cubic meter to between 200 and 300. It's cleaner, but it's not clean. You are still emitting.
Yes.
You have LPG, you are emitting up to 25 micrograms per cubic meter. So the new technologies which are now coming up, which we are also promoting, they have lesser than 5 micrograms per cubic meter of particulate matters emission. Those are new technologies which are high efficient electric pressure cookers, particularly if one will use renewable energy. You either generating electricity from hydro, from solar, or you have a mini grid, or you have a solar home systems, and then you are cooking with that, you are really achieving true clean cooking solution. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you for that. So, to frame our discussion, when we talk about new technology, we're talking about lowering emissions, improving efficiency, and making these things safer to use. Sophie, I guess maybe my question would be, I'm sure you would have something you want to contribute onto that area, if so. We do know that currently we break these technologies down into 3. You have what they're calling dirty, you've got what they're calling transitional, and then you've got what they're calling clean technologies. But cooking, I think, is one of the things that is very personal, sometimes very cultural, very traditional. Recipes are handed down from generation to generation, and we tie our culture to that type of a stove. So for your organization, as you've been pushing this new type of stove, new type of cooking, what are the challenges faced? What is happening with the adoption of these things out there?
Thank you, Lee. Now, just to add to what my colleague here spoke about, when you think about the people who are using charcoal and firewood, they would want to use a clean cooking fuel, honestly. That is what the ambition is. Unfortunately, due to cost limitations, it's not possible. So they have to settle for what they can afford. Now, when you think about a clean solution like the model we took, our thought process was, how do we make sure we get an affordable solution into their hands? We need to give them a solution that they will not struggle with. It works with the amount of money they have, and that is how we've disrupted it. We ensured that we remove the costs along the value chain to make the 2-burner cooker and the bioethanol affordable, and that, I would say, is the ambition of any clean cooking. Now, picture this, and a lot of you are familiar with scenarios where you see increased deforestation. We have people having to walk, and this, when I say people, it's primarily women and young girls, having to walk further and further to get firewood. The same thing, it's increasingly becoming expensive to get charcoal. So as much as people would want to stay true to what you have learned culturally, when you use the argument of, this is what I have always done, this is how food has always tasted, unfortunately, the current environment is not conducive to us continuing to cook the way we've always cooked. Yeah? The firewood is increasingly scarce, the charcoal is increasingly expensive. So you are torn between, do you stick to what you've always done, or do you cook with what is available and is affordable and is clean and delivers the same food experience? If you think about how food tastes, part of it is in your mind, in the sense that you've always known how food tastes when it's cooked with one fuel. So you carry that same mindset when you're coming to talk about a different fuel. So the challenge we face is people saying, my ugali will not taste the same. My rice, my fish, it will not taste the same. If I cook beans, will they cook the same on your bioethanol cooker? And the challenge we put back is, when you think about what you face, the challenges you face when you're cooking with firewood or charcoal, would you rather keep cooking with charcoal and firewood, experience those hazards, or would you rather transition to bioethanol? You will still eat food that tastes the same, but with less challenges than you faced with your other with your other cooking fuel. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie. So to add another layer to the answer in terms of what new technologies promise: lower emissions, more efficiency, more safety, and also we're bringing a factor of it being affordable as well as, and I think putting all these things together, we're driving towards it being sustainable for the long term. Now, my question, and I guess because this panel is very interesting. I'm looking at LPG on one side, I'm looking at bioethanol on this side, I'm looking at Mr. Sawe, who is talking about cleaner firewood, cleaner charcoal. So my question is, aren't we inundating the market with too many technologies, too many solutions, coming to a point where, on the one hand, we begin to confuse consumers with choice, on the other side as well, limiting the scalability of things? I believe as a wild example, if everybody was to use LPG, it becomes cheaper, the problems become solved more easily. I'm not advocating that. I could just as easily as said if everybody uses bioethanol. And down the road, Mr. Sawe has also thrown something at us and says, ultimately, the cleanest being electricity. Now, do we not come to a situation where we have people who have adopted and gotten used to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different ways, and then ultimately the process of trying to now transition them all to another stage become more complex? So I'm just throwing this broadly, and I'd welcome anyone to take it, but are we doing ourselves a service by having so many options out there at once? And is that the most sustainable way to do this long term? Who dares jump on that first? Let's just yeah, you're welcome. Mr. Andron?
Thanks.
Yeah.
So what I can say is that the market is very, very huge. In Tanzania, we have around 61 million people. And, as Mr. Sawe said, at the end of the day, all of us will wish to move to using electricity. But the main challenge is access to grid is very limited. And it takes years for the whole country to be electrified. And also, electrification is one thing, but for these people to use electricity for cooking, that's another subject. So all other fuels will get customers, and I think we are not confusing customers because there are so many options. With options, it means it's all about price fighting, and the winner will be the one who is selling at the lowest possible price.
Yes, adding on what Andron said, we believe that every player is required in the market to help create more awareness for people to use cleaner energy. We need every single player. As Andron said, we are 61 million Tanzanians, and the percentage in which people are using clean energy is a small percent, and we need every single player in the market to help create awareness and reach out to the people who are not using cleaner cooking methods. So it's not only about LPG, it's about all the other clean methods of clean methods of cooking, and we need every player in the market to help us with that.
Yes, Mr. Sawe.
Oh, thank you. Just to answer your question, I think one of the most important thing is really to understand the current situation. Just to do a situational analysis of the situation of clean cooking in the country, to understand what people need, what is their preferences, and then understand also which solutions gives us the least cost options, and then come up with a strategy to promote a clear strategy with targets and indicators, and to promote the least cost options and the ones that people prefer most. And when we talk, we are talking of promoting electricity. The government is doing a lot, has done a lot. We are told that more than 40% of the Tanzanians have access to electricity. The infrastructure is there. The technology for using the electricity at a very low cost is there. So it's the issue now of the government to come up with a strategy, which technology we want to promote. Technology is not, you cannot promote one technology, but different technologies after understanding what the end users want. Thank you.
I think leading on that, coming from what you've all said, looking at the different technologies that are at play now and that are available through your organizations and the support that you provide, I think what I would gather from Mr. Sawe's last contribution is essentially that it's not necessarily a one-size-fits-all model. There is a context in which certain things can apply and a context in which other things will apply. And for the time being, the move is to drive everyone using the available technologies relevant and appropriate to them to cleaner cooking as we move forward. Would you say that's a good summary of it? And if so, where do you currently see your particular service or product? Where is the need that you're meeting? What area is best suited by what your organization, SAFI, is doing? What areas are best suited by what Andron's organization is doing? I'd just like to hear from each of you that this is the context we sit in well, and this is what we think we're doing to bring technology to drive us to clean cooking. Maybe I would start with you, SAFI.
Thank you for that question, Lee. I just want to also drop something in. We all know the SDG goal for universal access to clean cooking by 2030. That is the ambition of every single country. And we do know the challenges we are facing because of deforestation. So there is a time limit in terms of how far we can push the earth in terms of cutting down trees. If anything, the push right now, because there's less emission within Africa, the push is for increased afforestation and reforestation. So we need to keep our trees. And that is why, if you look at the time we have left, we have to make sure that there are as many solutions working towards delivering clean cooking as possible, because we have the same ambition. For us, that has been our drive. When we look at the lorry loads of charcoal across East Africa, across any tropical country, that is what drives us. The fact that we need to keep those trees in the ground. We need to keep them absorbing carbon dioxide. That is what drives us. And that's why we said, how can we make sure that bioethanol is delivered affordably? The challenge, bioethanol is not new. I'm sure if you ask around, you'll realize that there are people retailing bioethanol-based products. They're there, they've been around for a while. The challenge has always been, how do you deliver it affordably? How do you make sure that the person who's buying fuel, who's buying charcoal every day, is able to buy it in an affordable way? So that is what drove us to say it has to be affordable. And through years of R&D, we were able to eventually develop the solution that enables us to remove the bottling, so we are able to deliver the solution right into the consumer's hands every day and within easy reach. So our solution is clean and it's renewable. So we are essentially addressing the issue of deforestation. Right now, what we are grappling with is how to make the solution affordable in rural areas, because we know that is where they use a lot of firewood. And as we know, with firewood, you don't spend any money. So essentially, we have to make sure that the cost that we are retailing our cooker and the bioethanol is low enough that they can forego walking around to look for firewood and instead use our solution. Thank you.
Thank you for that. You raise an interesting point, which is that where the most deforestation and the use of firewood and charcoal is, it's also a place where essentially it is, to them, the end user, it is almost free. They're not actually using money to do it. So I think that in terms of now, how do we use technology and innovation and solutions to, one, present this as a viable option to them? And I think maybe on this one, I would welcome back Mr. Sawe to kind of talk about, in the rural areas and the use of these cleaner biomass, how has the adoption of it been in those places? And how have you managed to get around the cost implication? Is this being achieved through subsidies? Is it that these cookers are cheaper? How is that working?
Thank you. Yes, the approach for delivering clean cooking solutions in rural areas and the urban areas are very different. In rural areas, most of the people, they are using the three-stone fireplace and collecting firewood almost free of charge. It's not very much commercialized. I know there are areas where people are buying firewood, but in most cases they collect the firewood. As such, and we know the socioeconomic situation in rural areas. People need to be supported to be able to access clean cooking. So in rural areas, we need to start from the current situation. The current situation is they are using the three-stone fireplace with very high emission, as I said. So the most important thing is to help them first to reduce the consumption of firewood. To reduce consumption of firewood by the current proven technologies. There are proven technologies which can reduce the consumption of firewood by more than 50% and reduce emissions from more than 600 micrograms per cubic meter to less than 200. So that is the first situation. The current situation, we need to do that because that's what they are using. So you can introduce proven technologies in the rural areas because you don't need to build new infrastructures, introduce new technologies where you have to address the issues of culture, issues of social traditions. So it will be a quick move from the current situation to a newer situation. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So on the first sort of takeaway, as we're looking at what existing technologies and what new technologies are promising, we're essentially saying that we need to adopt this because we're looking at they're better in every way in terms of emissions, efficiency, safety, affordability. But we're also saying that it's not going to be a one-size-fits-all. We're going to have to look at it to specific areas and needs and infrastructure that's available. You've already broken down the divide between the urban and the rural. We've already talked about just can this solution reach that place? Can they manage it, maintain it, and operate it? But then there is a second side to this picture, and I think we're going to hear a lot more from our other panelists on this, which is just the role of innovation to drive that transition away from biomass. Because technology and innovation is not really limited just to the cooker, to the stove, or to the technology, but we are looking at essentially an entire value chain that exists here. So I guess the question is, where do we see innovation outside of just the cooking technology fitting into the process of transitioning to cleaner fuels? And what problems are we facing that honestly more technological development and innovation is uniquely positioned to help us to resolve. And I think I'd like to welcome Mohammed first from Gas Faster to talk about that.
Yes, so basically the problem that a lot of people are facing is accessibility, awareness, and affordability of clean cooking methods. And we talk about the different methods of clean cooking and how we can bring these methods around, but we don't talk about how we can implement people using these clean methods. So we've taken a different approach into all this, and we've looked at how we can access everyone around rural and urban areas. And we've done a study on how every village, every town, every family, most of the people around Tanzania use phones or network operators. Every village has a phone. Every village use the normal wakalas for sending money around the country. And that shows us that technology is available in and around Tanzania, and a lot of people are using technology in Tanzania. So we looked at how we can incorporate that with LPG. So what we've done is we've spoken to the mobile network operators and several banks to see how we can incorporate this into the LPG market and to the energy sector. So what we've noticed is a lot of Tanzanians are not aware of these clean cooking methods, and they cannot access it. So we've worked together to see how we can create a channel where these mobile network operators can assist using Gas Faster to access clean cooking methods, and people from the urban and rural areas can access gas through these mobile network operators. We're also looking at different methods where in these areas they can create awareness through us. We can move around with the networks and go and talk about clean cooking methods and see how we can have a wakala in every location, Gas Faster wakala in every location in Tanzania. So that's one way we looked at how innovation can fit in the LPG market.
Thank you. So at this time, ningependa kutambua uwepo wa Mheshimiwa Waziri wa Nishati, Mr. January Makamba. We're very honored to have you here. Inaonyesha pia the commitment that truly this ministry has put towards answering these difficult questions. I think my second question here, how do the solutions we're talking about, and nitamkaribisha hapa Mr. Mendes ataanza kujibu hili swali. Hizi teknolojia, these technologies and innovations, zinazingatia kweli hali halisi ambayo tunayo? Are they really taking into account the context in which we are operating? For instance, we've already agreed that the place where there is the biggest need is in the rural areas, where the most firewood is being cut down and where people are struggling the most with these issues. Ni hizo sehemu ambazo naweza kusema ni ambazo hazijaendelea sana. So when we look at it, solutions kama hizi ambazo tunaongelea, maana sasa unasikia mambo ya mobile application, labda unasikia kuhusu, unajua mobile application ni unaanza kuongelea mambo kama smartphone penetration. We start talking about things like access to data in rural areas. So my question is, from what you have seen, are the technology and innovation, the solutions there, are they really taking into account the needs of the people in these deepest and most rural areas? Or are we really just helping ourselves in these urban centers where perhaps the problem is not so pronounced?
Thank you. I think one thing that we should all agree is that according to the statistics, is that Dar es Salaam is currently consuming over 50% of all the charcoal that is produced in the country. So if you want to reduce the impact of carbon dioxide in Tanzania, I think we should first target Dar es Salaam. So yes, we'll go in rural areas, but we need first to tackle this 50% market for the charcoal of the country. So that will mean will be able to reduce significantly the impacts of cutting trees, because all the trees that are cut in Dodoma and Morogoro and coastal area, they are producing charcoal, which is sent to Dar es Salaam. So some solution need to fit in urban areas, and they let free, cutting of trees in rural areas. I agree with you that we, all the players in the industry, at some point, we need to rethink of the rural strategy. But at the moment, I think it's very key to address areas where there is a big consumption on charcoal. And for instance, in our case, we did a study and realized that we have several LPG companies in the market. If you take into account all the cylinders that have been imported in this country, it is over 5 million cylinders. But all those cylinders are not refilled by these players, because if they are refilled, then we will not have a capacity to refill the cylinders because of the storage limitations. What it tells is that a lot of people are buying cylinders, but they are not able to refill. Leave those who are like outside there, they are interested to use LPG, but they don't have money. But we have several millions who have bought the cylinders, they've just put inside their homes and they're not able to refill. So at MGAS, we're addressing both, because we don't need a customer to save a lot of money acquiring stove and cylinders. It's a company responsibility to find financial support and provide these customers with a cylinder and stove, and then enable this customer to buy gas. In similar terms, they're buying charcoal, because when they go to a charcoal vendor, they just pay 1,000 shillings, 2,000 shillings, and access charcoal in those terms. So we've designed the technology in a similar way. And we've seen, we have a similar turnover ratio of like 4 or 5 times a year, which is very, very huge in the industry, because the industry average of cylinder turnover is 1 to 2 times, but we have a 5 times cylinder turnover ratio. So we are trying to revolutionize access. So once we hit 1 million customers in Dar es Salaam, it means we'll significantly reduce charcoal consumption. And then it slowly will go to Morogoro, to other regions where there is a big consumption of charcoal. And then later we will redesign our product to compete with biomass, because biomass is freely available, and it's really hard, to tell people to move away from something which is accessible on free terms to something they need to pay. So yes, we'll design the technology those days, but at the moment, I think the big fight is to make sure that we reduce significantly the charcoal usage in the country by targeting urban areas where there is a big pockets and big consumers. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we continue, naomba pia ni tambue uwepo wa Mheshimiwa Abdul Rahman Kimana, the Deputy Chairman of CCM, who is here with us. Pia ningependa kusema kama kuna mtu ambaye anahitaji huduma ya kutafsiriwa kutoka Kiingereza kwa Kiswahili, unaweza ukanyosha tu mkono, hiyo huduma inapatikana hapa. So if anyone needs, okay, there's no point making that announcement in in English at all, is there? Yeah, lakini kama unahitaji kutafsiriwa kutoka Kiingereza kwenda Kiswahili, ukinyosha mkono kuna mtu atakufikishia. Sorry, Kiswahili kwenda Kiingereza. So are we doing both ways? So, naisi imeeleweka. Is that very clear? Excellent. Sophie, karibu sana, uko na mchango juu ya hilo.
Thank you, Lee. I wanted to highlight another innovation that we are using, and that's the use of carbon credits. I know that is something that is increasingly becoming the new word, the new words that people are hearing. Carbon credits enable us to subsidize our solution, both the cooker and the fuel. And that is the way we are able to penetrate, and that is what will enable us be able to reach the rural consumers. We'll be able to subsidize it and get it to a price point that makes it even more affordable. For comparison, right now in Kenya, we sell the 2-burner cooker with a 2.3-liter canister and 2 free refills for $15. That is in the urban area. If we try and take that price point to the rural setting, it will not work. And that is why we then need to use carbon credits. Now we are getting to a situation where the countries are developing regulations. And I know Tanzania has developed their draft regulations on carbon credits. And that is where we are monitoring very keenly, because regulations talk about taxing the carbon credits. With a lot of the companies that are playing within the carbon markets, it's important that we retain as much of the revenue from the carbon credits as possible, because that is part and parcel of our business model. So that is how most of us companies have innovated to be able to penetrate the rural communities. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that brings me to my last question. Na baada ya hapa tutafungua kwa ajili ya maswali na michango kutoka kwa nyie wageni wetu waalikwa na waheshimiwa. So swali langu la mwisho ni kwa sababu tumegusia vitu vingi sana hapa. I hope you're comfortable if I use some Swahili as well so that we can all connect here. Tumegusia vitu vingi sana hapa. The aspect ya technology, ambayo of course kama Tatedo ndo amesema kuna teknolojia tofauti za kupikia. Coco Networks wameongelea teknolojia ya kutumia biogas, I believe. Bioethanol, samahani. Lakini sasa hivi, as we're continuing, we're touching on more things. We're talking about the need for financing to support this kind of transition. We're talking about other technologies we need. You know, electricity needs to reach places. Data penetration needs to be at a certain level. Smartphone penetration needs to be at a certain level. So my question, as the experts here, do you feel that right now this discussion is being looked at holistically? Kwamba tunaangalia kwa ukubwa wake, au ni kwamba huyu ambaye anarahisisha kufikisha LPG anafanya anachokifanya, huyu ambaye anarahisisha kupeleka bioethanol anafanya anachokifanya, ambaye analeta cookers anafanya anachokifanya, au tunaangalia kwa ukubwa wake kwamba kuna jukwaa kama hizi ambapo labda pia institutions who can finance this wapo, tax and law experts ambao anaweza kaongelea hizi issues za the carbon credits you're talking about wapo, the ministry in terms of communication technology now wapo kusema kwamba basi can we make data free for such a service? Where is that conversation now? Is it happening on the level it needs to happen? And what are your recommendations for how we can really harness technology and innovation for clean cooking? Ntaomba, I think if in just a minute, very briefly, each of you can speak to this, alafu ntafungua kwa wageni wetu wote. So if we can begin with you.
Yes, so thank you. We're all here in this event with the rest of the players. This is the platform that the ministry that has created for us to all combine our technologies and see how we can move on from here. I'd like to thank the Ministry of Energy, Mheshimiwa Raisi na Mheshimiwa Waziri wa Nishati kwa tupa this kind of platform to showcase our products and showcase what we are trying to do in the energy sector. We've all come up here with different ideas on how to penetrate the market. And it's not only about clean cooking, but we're all here to create jobs for the youth. We're all here to come up with ideas on how to reach the wider market. As Andron said, we have to focus on the urban areas so that we reduce the charcoal coming in from the rural areas, but also we need to create jobs for people in the rural areas to stop focusing on bringing these methods that are not clean for the environment.
Thank you. Very briefly, Karib Sana.
Yes, I think the most important thing also is really to see to it that the different options available and the efforts being undertaken, they are organized in order to have impact. And the best way to organize is really what was talked in the plenary, that we need to have a very clear strategy that will define where we want to go, what are the targets, what are the indicators, what technologies we want to promote, and then different delivery business models, financing mechanisms need to be defined in order to ensure that really we move forward in an organized way. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. I believe the conversations are happening. They are happening in different spaces. Different solutions are having conversations separately. I think there's a need to bring all these efforts together. There's always talk about task forces, bringing in players from different sectors to come together. As I said, the earth is not waiting for us. It has pushed us to accelerate our efforts. So the conversations happening at national level, the conversations happening at the community level, we need to be aiming towards the same goal. We cannot be working at cross purposes. So there has to be, and the voice starts from the top. And that is why I understand when Honorable the Minister, as well as Her Excellency the President, when they talk about, when they speak to it, it's about how do we then take that message and distill it and make sure that we are all then speaking from the same page and actioning the same things. We cannot be actioning, as you say, and we are negating each other's efforts. We all need to be working towards the same goal. Thank you.
Thank you.
From my side, nadhani naweza kuongea Kiswahili kidogo. Nadhani kwanza ni kama jana ilivyosemekana ni kwamba tumpongeze Mheshimiwa Waziri kwa sababu hichi kitu kinafanyika ni kitu kikubwa sana. Jana kuna mtu alisema hii sekta ya clean cooking ilikosa mzazi. Nadhani ni kitu cha msingi sana kwa sababu kila Mtanzania anapika, na kulikuwa na efforts nyingi sana zilifanyika zamani watu kutengeneza cook stove wakidhani kwamba zitasolve problem. Hii problem ni kubwa sana. Haiwezi kuwa solved na NGOs. Inahitaji zaidi ya nguvu za NGOs. So then the next thing kwa Mheshimiwa Waziri ni open probably an authority labda ndani ya REA au EURA au somewhere ambapo innovators wa clean cooking technologies wanaweza wakapeleka mapendekezo yao, kwa sababu as a business tumekuwa tuna face some challenges, regulatory challenges and other challenges, because sometimes kwenye market kama hiyo unavyoingiza new technology huna mahali pa kwenda kuiongelea, kwa sababu kila authority unaenda wanasema hii ni outside their scope, they cannot help. Kwa hiyo lazima kuwe na kitengo maalum ndani ya serikali ambacho kinapokea mawazo na mapendekezo na probably kufanya submission hata kama kwenye ministries zinazohusika ili kupunguza baadhi ya vitu. Nitoe tu mfano. Sisi tuna import device ambazo ni smart meter ambazo tunazifunga kwenye kila mtungi. Lakini sheria iliyoko ya weights and measure inataka kwa kila device ambayo tuna import ili kupata certification tulipe shilingi 10,000. Sasa imagine kwenye soko sisi tuna device 50,000. It means ni 500 million shillings we need to pay upfront. Na sisi tunamtargeti a low income household ambaye tunampatia device without paying any upfront investment. So kwa kampuni inabidi to pre-finance 500 million shillings. Na sio hivyo tu, hiyo process ya kupata hizo stamp kwenye device, it is very very tough. You know, it can take them like 1 month or so to just give a stamp in a device. So hizi zote ni challenges ambazo players tunakutana nazo, na hatuna mahali pa kuongelea kwa sababu ukienda kwa wanasema ni sheria imepitishwa, na sasa wanasema nani anaweza tukapeleka mapendekezo yetu kwa ajili ya kufanya amendments hizo sheria. Kwa hiyo ni vitu hatusemi kwamba tusilipe. Maybe sheria za zamani zilikuwa ziko favorable kwenye situation zamani, lakini sasa hivi sisi tunaleta gadgets ambazo want to reach 1 million customers. You know, watu wengi wanasema kwa nini MGAS haija expand sana Tanzania kuliko Kenya. Kenya we have like 400,000 customers in just 1.5 years. It's only because of the regulatory challenges here ambazo zina limit penetration ya technology kama za kwetu ambazo ni mpya. Adoption to new technology imekuwa ni very very challenging because there is no any authority unaweza kupeleka mapendekezo and then they help you. So I think it's a good start, I can say, to the minister, lakini tunaomba sasa iende next level kuwe na authority, kuna chumba maalum cha kuzungumzia technology, kuna chumba maalum cha kuzungumzia new solutions. Tunapeleka mapendekezo and then we get a feedback kwamba kitu hicho, sababu tuna deal na tatizo la kitaifa. Kama ni tatizo la kitaifa, inabidi pia kuwe na some extra steps to do. Thank you.
Asante sana. We are almost completely out of time. Naomba nifungue kwa ajili ya michango kutoka kwa wageni wetu. Ushers wa microphone, mnaweza mkatusaidia. Naomba nianze na huyu mtu hapa roho ya mbele.
Sijui nisimame au niongee tu hivi hivi. Okay, ngoja nisimame. Mimi naitwa Kulindwa kutoka Chuo cha Ushirika Moshi. Ni kweli ukiangalia solution ni nyingi sana zinatolewa na watu tofauti tofauti. Mimi kitu ambacho ninachokiona hapa is database. Hatuna database. Bado nasisitiza hamna database inayoonyesha huyu anafanya nini, huyu anafanya nini, nani amefanya wapi, nani anafanya kitu gani. Ukijaribu kuangalia, mimi nimekuwa nikifanya utafiti sana kuhusu issue ya kudistribute au adoption ya hizi technology. Lakini inapokuja ujue kwa mfano technology gani, kwa mfano hapa kuna technology zimeonekana nyingi sana, lakini tunatakiwa tuwe na database ya kuzitambua zote sehemu moja, na vile vile kutumia sisi watafiti namna ya kufanya adoption. Sasa tunapozikosa zile takwimu sisi kwa mfano wataalamu, kwa sababu lazima tufanye kazi na hawa producers au innovators ili tuweze kulisukuma gurudumu pamoja. If we do that, kuwe na sehemu ambapo kuna kwa mfano kwenye wizara ya mheshimiwa waziri kukiwa na center ya data takwimu, I think hata sisi watafiti tutapata zile takwimu vizuri, tutajua nani anafanya nini, na hata kama success story wapi wamefanya wapi vizuri. Kwa hiyo inakuwa rahisi hata kudisseminate. Na mimi issue ya free mitungi kwa mfano, mimi mchumi si shauri sana vitu vya bure, kwa sababu sio maisha. Yani vitu vya bure sio maisha. Kwanza ukipewa kitu cha bure huwezi kukithamini. Ni lazima kuwe na namna ya kuweza kudistribute kwa customer. Kwa mfano ukimwambia kama hawa wanaouza gesi kwamba ukilipia ukanunua hii gesi kwa muda fulani itakuwa mtungi wa kwako. Kwanza atathamini, alafu vile vile atajifunza kutumia. Wakati anatumia ana ambitions ya kuwa wa kwake mtungi. Anajifunza kutumia na baadaye anazoea na kacha ile tunaendelea kuitransform kidogo kidogo. Asante sana kwa haya, asante sana.
Asante sana kwa mchango wako. Wow, there's so many hands. Naomba nipokee mchango wa kaka amesimama aliyekaa hapo.
Asante, habarini za saizi tena. Mimi kwa majina naitwa Festus Masaho, natokea Blue Victoria, Mwanza. Nina tafakuri yangu imekuja kwenye swala ambalo moderator aliuliza hapa kwamba teknolojia zetu zinazingatia hali halisi tulizonazo. Cha kuongezea kidogo hapa kwamba teknolojia zetu zinazingatia hali halisi na mila na tamaduni zetu tulizonazo. Tafakuri yangu ninaijenga kwenye picha ya Julia. Mheshimiwa Waziri, nikupongeze kwa ajili ya zile picha. Ni picha ambazo zinaongea, huhitaji kuziwekea caption. Kwa picha umeielezea, lakini kwangu mimi nimeichukulia kwa issue ya kitamaduni zaidi. Julia anasonga ugali. Tena inafahamika kwamba kwa Afrika, nchi za Afrika Mashariki, chakula chetu cha kitamaduni ni ugali. Sasa teknolojia iliyokuwa inatumika kusongea ugali ni mafiga, alafu kulikuwa na mti anaubana. Ule mti ni nyenzo ya kubana ile sufuria ili aweze kusonga ugali wake vizuri uive. Ile sio kuni. Hilo ni nyenzo ya kubana ile sufuria aweze kusonga ugali. Sasa bahati mbaya ama bahati nzuri au anasonga ugali wa kanda ya Ziwa, ugali ambao umechanganywa na unga wa muhogo. Ni ugali ambao ukiula sasa hivi ni aidha mpaka kesho ndo utasikia njaa. Sasa ugali ule tuuchukulie mazingira kwamba anakuja kuusongea kwenye clean cooking facilities. Tuchukulie ugali ule anausongea kwenye mtungi wa kilo 5, huu mtungi mdogo. Tuangalia anasonga ugali wa kulisha familia ya watu 5. Is it possible? tuangalie anasonga ugali ule kwenye kutumia haya majiko ambayo kuna jiko nimeliona hapo ni zuri sana la electricity, wanatumia induction, sijui wanasema teknolojia ya induction. Unaweka tu sufuria, hazina hata mafiga wala ni plate tu, ipo tu hivyo, unabandika sufuria lako, maji yanachemka, unasonga. Sasa tuchukulie Julia anasonga ugali wa watu 5 kwa kutumia teknolojia ile, inawezekana. Na tuchukulie Julia anasonga ugali kwa kutumia plate hizi ambazo ni jiko la gesi la plate, afu tuchukulie Julia anasonga ugali kwa kutumia zile plate, inawezekana. Kwa hiyo tuna nafasi tena, tuna changamoto zaidi ya innovator wa Tanzania kiujumla kubuni mbinu ya kuweza kupika chakula chetu cha kitamaduni ambacho tutaweza kutumia kwenye hizi nishati mbadala.
Asante sana. Sijui kama kuna mnaichukulia tu kama mchango au kuna mtu ambaye anaweza akajibu. Karibu Adron.
Mimi nadhani Julia ni swala la elimu tu, kwa sababu si wenyewe tuna familia, tunapika ugali kwa mjini, tunatumia majiko ya gesi. Nilienda Nairobi, kule Nairobi ile ugali wenu unaitwa nini ile? Ugali. Kuna chakula maalum sana Nairobi kinakuwa kama makande, inaitwa nini ile? Githeri. Kunaitwa na githeri. Kule Nairobi ni maarufu sana. Na unatumia tu hiyo coconut wiki stovu. Swala la nguvu ni jambo moja. Swala la kupika litaje hata nguvu sana, right? Kwa huko mjini sisi familia za watu 5 6 tunapika kwenye majiko ya stove.
Naomba nimkaribishe. Yes.
Asante. Nafikiri wakati tunakwenda kwenye kubadilisha nishati ya kupikia, ni vizuri kuelewa wale watumiaji wanataka nini, mila zao zikoje, uwezo wao ukoje, alafu unaleta teknolojia kufuatana na mahitaji ya wale watu, ndio utaweza kufanikiwa. Na baadhi ya hizi teknolojia mpya ambazo umeziona pale nje kama jiko la umeme sanifu lenye pressure, 93% utafiti ambao tumefanya wa vyakula vyote vya Tanzania unaweza kupikia pale, hata ugali unaozungumzia unaweza kupikia pale. Kwa hiyo ni swala tu la kuelewa wanataka nini, alafu kuwapa elimu wale watumiaji. Asante.
Yes, asante sana. Tunarudia pale tupokuwa kwamba tunaangalia teknolojia katika hali halisi iliyopo. Naomba nichukue maswali kutoka nyuma sasa hivi, maana all the questions so far have been from the front. Kuna mkono uko right at the back pale kabisa. Yes.
Asante sana. My name is Charles Leonard, and I'm working with Tanzania Forest Conservation Group, TFCG. I would like just to add on two things. One is on deforestation, and the other one is on charcoal. I'll start with deforestation. We've been hearing that charcoal is the leading driver of deforestation. This is not true, I'll say. The major driver of deforestation in this country, as it is in other sub-Saharan countries in Africa, is shifting cultivation. We are just tagging charcoal, the incorrect tag. Charcoal is being produced as a byproduct of clearing natural forests to establish farms. So it's like we are chasing the wrong thief if we want to address deforestation in this country. Even if we are going to supply the whole of Dar es Salaam with alternative energies, even if we are going to supply the whole of Dar es Salaam with electricity for cooking, even if we are going to supply the whole of Dar es Salaam with LPGs, by doing so, does it not mean that we'll address deforestation? Those poor villagers, they need area for farming. That area has got natural forests. They'll chop down the trees kwa ajili ya kupanda mahindi. They just use the opportunity of those trees there to produce charcoal as a byproduct. So even if we are going to supply the urban dwellers with alternative energies, will not guarantee that we are going to address deforestation in this country. I wanted to pause that so that we can think beyond the box. Charcoal. In this country, in Tanzania, we're having more than 48.1 million hectares of forest. Out of this, about 46% is on village lands. And the forest sector in Tanzania contributes 3.3 to the national GDP. About half of this 3.3, which is about 4.65 trillion Tanzania shillings per year, half of it, about more than 2 trillion, is being contributed by charcoal. To me, charcoal is a green gold. So I want just to pose a question, just to provoke. Should we treat charcoal as an environmental crisis or an opportunity for sustainable economic development? Can we try to see on how we can make charcoal to be clean as a cooking energy? I've seen that, of course, we can have options. We can have LPG, electricity. I'm not against that. But also we need to see on how we can clean tree-based biomass energy, charcoal and fuel wood. 90% of households in this country are using tree-based biomass energy for cooking. So whilst we are looking for alternatives, whilst we're looking for electricity, LPG, etc., we should not leave alone the tree-based biomass energy. Taking into consideration its importance to the national economy, we can transform it in ways that will contribute into formalization of this sector, in ways that will create employment to the value chain, if we look at the forest product value chains, in ways that will create incomes, will employ youths and other stakeholders along the value chain. Thank you.
Thank you for your contribution. I believe that we may have time for just one more because there is another session that is beginning very shortly. Can I just welcome my brother sitting right there?
Yes, naitwa Jonathan Lukumai, ni msambazaji wa gesi Arusha. Nilikuwa nataka kuongezea kwenye point ya data collection. Kwa sababu kwenye data collection nadhani tukiweza kutumia data vizuri, kwanza tunatambua watu na energy inatumika sehemu gani zaidi na kwa kiasi gani. So tukisema kwamba taifa lina move kwenye CNG, tukiwa tuna data, kwa mfano kama tunajua gesi inatumika sehemu gani kwa kiasi gani, inakuwa ni rahisi zaidi kuweza kufanya mipango kwa ajili ya hiyo data inaenda kutumikaje. Na kaka kuhusu swala la deforestation, the same thing comes to play, data. Kwa hiyo kukiwa kuna data collection, like the sister said, kwamba carbon credit, tukiweza kutumia carbon credit vizuri, Tanzania ina reserves za forest na kila kitu kama anavyosema at a large percent. Kwa hiyo tukiweza kuwa na data ya the carbon that we're emitting from matumizi yetu, ni vizuri zaidi tunaweza kutumia pia hiyo carbon credit kuweza kusubsidize vitu katika maeneo ambayo yana hizo forest reserves. Kwa mfano tukisema tunataka kupunguza ukataji wa miti, ukiweza kuwalipa wanakijiji ambao wana hizo forest reserves kuhusu hiyo forest yao kwa carbon, hawatakata miti kwa sababu watakuwa wanapata kipato kutoka kwenye hiyo carbon. Kwa hiyo the best way na best solutions ambao tunaweza tukasema to move forward ni data. Data is expensive, data is everything. Data kwenye uuzaji wa gesi, tunatambua gesi inatumika sehemu gani Kigamboni, tunatambua gesi inatumika kiasi gani Mbezi. Through that tunaweza tukafanya mipango endelevu zaidi. You know? Alafu at the same time kwenye kusolve issue kama issue ya Ruaha. Ruaha has mangroves. Mangroves holds the most carbon, you know? Kwa hiyo tukiweza kuuza the carbon that's coming off the mangroves, that's already enough money to preserve hiyo ukataji wa miti around the river, you know? Kwa hiyo way forward I think it's data. We should focus on data as the ministry should do that as well and have a collaboration, either ministry, Nishati, Mazingira, different departments, yani coordination.
Thank you. Someone has brought to my attention kwamba sijawatendea haki the ladies here. The balance was very wrong. Number ni. I want to apologize for that sincerely. It's a big mistake on my part and it was not deliberate. I'm very sorry. So to make that up, microphone, my battery is out. Sorry? Yes. So to make that up, I'm going to take your question. I think we will take one more question from one of the ladies, and I will give. Okay, we will take. You see, the problem is this. Okay, I will take 2 questions from ladies right now. I will ask that you be very brief, and I will give the last word to the lady on our panel, Sophie, and hopefully mtanisamehe for this grievous offense. Karibu sana dadangu. So please, let's keep our questions very short, and we'll try to respond very quickly as well, because we're already late for the next sessions.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Irene. I work at an NGO called TCRS. So I have some advices to the Ministry of Energy. The first one is that when they are going to, as we need to transition from in this energy sector, we need to change the beliefs of the people. It's not that we need to change their mindset, we need to change what they believe. If you change, a person will do something he believes, not what he knows, what he believes. So as they will train people, I mean the Tanzanians, we need to train to change their belief on firewoods and charcoal. Another advice is that I would advise the Ministry of Energy to engage the NGOs because they are working in the rural areas. So please engage them in this energy transition. And the third is I advise the Ministry of Energy to conduct conferences and campaigns on energy transition in the rural areas because they are the ones who are really concerned in this issue. And the fourth is I advise the Ministry of Energy to include the young people for sustainability of the interventions in the coming committee they are told to make by the Honorable President. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can I welcome you?
Thank you so much to all the presenters. My name is Isabel Galeano. I am actually on the private sector. I am the co-founder of an organization called Energy Moto. So we're working with biogas. So I just have 2 important points that I want to mention. So according to my experience, the problem that I have experienced the most is the lack of communication between the stakeholders. We don't know what is doing what. We don't know who is doing what. So, and in this, I include also including the researchers and innovators, the people who is already doing things. We have professors for universities, we have many studies that they have been done, at least in my area, and then I don't see them include them here. I mean, it's kind of like we just running around, but we're not getting to the point to get together, to work together. And I'm sorry, I include myself as a Tanzanian, which I am not, but I really love this country and I love, what we can do for it. And the second point will be to mention something that Mr. Sauer was mentioning about we need to incorporate each technology where it is needed. We cannot lie to the people. We cannot come to present a technology that it is not suitable for this or that place, because then we come out to the fake advertisement. It's like we don't want just to sell. We want to provide alternatives to people who actually need it, and it will be sustainable in the time being. Thank you.
Thank you. Sophie, if you could please just help us with just a quick minute. So before she goes, I just want to let you all know that this session has overrun by a little bit. So the next session is already going on. So as soon as we close here, we're going to move directly into Selu to join the ongoing session, which is on the topic of lessons and experiences from around the world. So, Sophie, please help us to close this panel, and then let us immediately move back to Selu. The next session has already begun.
I think I want to express our gratitude to His Honorable, the Minister. Thank you so much for the opportunity for us to come together. I think it's an indication by the number of hands and the questions that went unanswered that there is still a lot of information that is being sought. And speaking as a member of private sector, we are here, we're willing to engage. I think the ask is not always to government, it needs to bring all of us together. So as a private sector player, and I believe, as you said, and most of us here, we're willing to come together and discuss how can we advance this conversation. As I said, and repeating again, the earth is not waiting for us. We need to be ahead of the issues. We are heading to COP27 to discuss how we can further mitigate and adapt to climate change. How can we work together, not only as Tanzanians, but as East Africans, to make sure we are working together to advance clean cooking. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I have to apologize to the panelists. I know we would like to close, but like I said, the next session has already begun. So thank you so much for your contribution. Thank you for your time. I believe that more and more is coming. Asanteni sana.